Bună seara! În această seară avem un invitat cu totul și cu totul special. Este vorba despre ambasadorul Turciei la București. Turcia, o țară extrem de importantă în acest moment în arhitectura de securitate internațională, o țară extrem de importantă economic, o țară extrem de importantă din perspectiva turismului și a destinațiilor turistice pentru România și pentru toată regiunea și putem da cifre în acest sens, dar în primul rând o țară care a înțeles că are șansa să se dezvolte și să devină o superputere. În acest moment Turcia este pe locul 8 în lume în ceea ce privește puterea militară, a 8-a putere a lumii din punct de vedere militar, este a 10-a putere a lumii în ceea ce privește cele mai puternice state din lume. Dincolo de puterea militară este vorba și despre multe alte aspecte și Turcia ocupă locul 10. Turcia are 72 de milioane de locuitori, este una dintre, sau clar, cea mai puternică forță militară din regiunea în care se află împreună cu România, Bulgaria și celelalte țări, dar este cea mai importantă forță militară de la Marea Neagră. Este în același timp o țară care în timpul comunismului a fost, dacă vreți, acea insulă care nu a putut fi cucerită de către Rusia și nu a putut fi integrată în sistemul comunist. Este o țară care astăzi se pregătește să devină una dintre cele mai importante țări din lume. Nu top 10, ci poate chiar mai sus, în top 5, în top 3. Turcia poate și are acest potențial, iar România are un parteneriat strategic cu Turcia. Are două parteneriate strategice în regiune foarte importante. Este vorba despre parteneriatul cu Polonia și parteneriatul cu Turcia. Parteneriatul cu Turcia este unul extrem de important pentru că include aspecte de ordin geopolitic, include aspecte de ordin economic, include aspecte de ordin care privesc securitatea în regiune. Cu ambasadorul Turciei vom discuta mai multe astăzi. Este nu numai o onoare, este și o plăcere să l-am invitat. Este unul dintre cei mai tineri, dacă nu chiar cel mai tânăr ambasador la București. Așa că Turcia a învățat, mai ales sub Erdogan, sub președintele Erdogan, că meritocrația este foarte importantă. Îl salut cu această ocazie pe ambasadorul Turciei, Koray, și am să schimb în limba engleză. Koray, dostum Koray, if I may say so.
Thank you.
You are my guest today. You are the ambassador of Turkey. I told our viewers you are a very young, even I don't know, maybe the youngest ambassador in town, and that your president Erdogan understood that meritocracy is extremely important in promoting people in your state. That's why Turkey became extremely modern in the recent years, maybe not as much as you would want or some other people like other countries in the EU, but still you are becoming very fast, very modern, very efficient, and by far one of the strongest countries in the world and very important for Romania. I underline this aspect because our organization and of course also this talk show is extremely preoccupied by the geopolitical situations, is extremely preoccupied by who is defending the region, who is our partner, who are our partners. And Turkey, in my view, and of course anyone can have any other view, is by far one of the most important allies that Romania must have. This is for sure also happening because I know we have a common committee, a bilateral committee at the ministerial level between the Minister of Foreign Affairs here and Minister of Foreign Affairs in your capital. We have the trilateral with Poland, which is also focused on geopolitics and other issues. So the cooperation on the strategic partnership is very important. But yes, let me welcome you first, and then go to the serious part.
Thank you so much, Mulțumesc, for inviting me here. This channel has always been kind to us all the time, and as we see ourselves here as at our second home, we always feel very comfortable in the country and also in Realitatea TV. Thank you for this hospitality.
Well, it is our honor, and just to show that I really care about the partnership with you. I wear also the
yes,
symbol of
I
the
realize
friendship,
that, yes.
Romania-Turkey today.
Thank you so much.
This is
for doing that gesture.
Yes, it's from the heart. So
Yes.
let me ask you first, before going to the serious stuff, because you are the youngest ambassador here. How are you? I mean, you are in Romania for some time. How are you? Let's say dealing with Romania. How do you find Romania? What hobbies do you have? I mean, what strikes you to Romania? What is your impressions, big impressions about some places, or it can be also negative, not necessarily positive?
Of course. Well, it's actually a challenge, but also opportunity to become an ambassador at a young age.
Yes.
The challenges are known. There's no need to count on them. You don't actually have a room to make major mistakes. Of course, major mistakes can kill anyone in a serious position. But when you are young, of course, this room is so small. So you have to be very careful, of course. But of course, there is also a positive side of it. First of all, I'm quite active in town, within our community,
Yes.
with my Romanian friends and colleagues as well. I'm pushing my friends and colleagues at the embassy too much because I'm not tired and I want them not to be tired as well. Yes. Trying always to think on projects to make something concrete.
Yes.
So this is, I guess, the positive part. Whenever someone calls me from the Romanian government or from civil society, I'm on the other side of the phone. I don't say, well, I'm busy or I'm tired.
I noticed that.
So thanks God, there's a kind of also an opportunity of having been appointed to this important position at a young age. But I consider myself as being very lucky to be posted in my first posting as the ambassadorship to a friendly country, which we have strategic relationship. Of course, before going on political matters, I should underline that everywhere in Romania, and I underline the word everywhere, depending on, regardless of their political attitudes, their positions and etc., there is a welcoming attitude towards Turkey and towards the Turkish ambassador. With my colleagues everywhere in the government, at the presidency, at the foreign ministry, at other ministries, notably the Minister of Economy, for example, which we are having a very heavy agenda.
The trade is very big. It's 6 billion euros per year.
It surpassed 6 billion already. They are very cooperative with us. Anytime when we have issues, problems, they are right away there. And we are trying to solve everything very quickly in a positive manner. In terms of the society, I'm again so happy to be here. Life is pretty much similar to what I'm used to. People are so engaging, so talkative, open, and I
like the Turks.
Yes, they resemble us in that sense. They're full of energy and emotions as well. In the meantime, and also they are so tolerant people here.
Yes.
Many people says about it, as you know. I also served in many other places, 3 capitals actually before, and see many other capitals and countries as well. But here there is indeed a kind of embracing the other and not pushing it away. The current president himself attests to that very fact, that this is a country and a nation that is able to elect someone who is from a different ethnic origin to the highest position in this country. It's a clear testament.
Well, many of your leaders in the past, in the present, are not necessarily from one part of the religion. They were promoted even if they were not necessarily the majority, coming from the majority of your religion. Even the Kurds had important positions in your state. Yes, of course. We have in the past and the present
many high-level leaders at high-level positions from Kurdish origin and from other ethnicities in Turkey as well. That's right.
But before speaking about this, tell me a little bit about the person, the Koripers. I mean, what kind of hobbies do you have? What do you do to relax? Because I understood you are very energetic. I must say the same. I could notice that you are that type of ambassador. We talk here about how are ambassadors, and I don't want to offend anyone, but an ambassador cannot do his job at all, and it can be very happy, or he can be really active and promote his country. And you being the youngest ambassador, I noticed that immediately when we got in contact, and you're extremely active in the weekend. The people, ambassadors avoid working in weekends.
Yes, yes.
But you did work in weekends, so I think it's a very good thing that your government sent here a person that cares about the partnership, a person that can make the difference, because your capital is not very far, but far enough. And it's very important who is the leader of the embassy in Romania. But tell me, what hobbies do you have? What do you do besides being an ambassador?
First of all, of course, this is a great honor and privilege to represent this great nation here in this beautiful capital. So the responsibility is so heavy, and I have to live up with the expectation. So I'm trying to do my utmost to live up with that expectation. And that leaves little room for me for a private setting or life here in Romania. Believe me, during the weekdays, it's mostly work-related issues.
Okay.
But if I can go out with friends whom I met during work-related activities, then it is a social activity for me. But other than this, I cannot make any sport, for example, no other hobbies, because literally there is no time. Even in the weekends, we are either visiting a countryside, again officially to visit our business friends and companies, Turkish companies as well, or compatriots here in different parts of the country. So it's a very hectic life. Normally I'm an outgoing, outspoken person, but when you wear the hat, of the ambassador, of course, there are limitations to that. So I just push the brakes when I'm doing my official job, of course. And as you know, protocol is the gist of our profession in the diplomacy. I'm someone who doesn't like protocol, actually.
I could see that.
But I served in many positions before at the heart of protocol rules. When I was serving as chief of staff of the former president.
I wanted to mention
in Turkey, the protocol office was also under my purview. So regardless of the magnitude of the country, whether it's a poor country or a rich country, diplomats have a certain way of living. You have a limo, a car, a driver, and a chef, and a residence, etc. But I only use them when necessary. At 6 p.m., for example, I'm calling all my friends, butlers and etc., saying, "Can you please go home? I don't want to, need anyone here because there is no guest in the house. So I'll be in my private setting." So this is the life.
I wanted to mention this aspect about you, that at 37 years old, I think, you were the chief of staff of the president of Turkey, which is a very high position. Even in Romania, it's a very important position. But in Turkey, which is where the president has even more power than here, constitutionally. But the president, to be the chief of staff of the president at 37 years old, and to such a nation, it's really a responsibility. So that's why our viewers should know that before going into discussions. Also, you worked a lot in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, as a chief of staff, very much on the Western side with the United States, NATO. Let's go over these issues which are more not necessarily personal, but regarding the person. And let me close with the joke. I hope you will understand the joke. You are young, you will understand it for sure. I was thinking that maybe in your spare time you watch movies with Mihai Viteazu. It was a joke. Okay.
I took it as such.
Yes. Okay. Let's go now to more serious questions, and let's tell our people that our viewers that Turkey. If we look to the map, you are in a very complicated area. But as any other crisis, it's a big opportunity as well. You have as neighbors in the south, you have Iran, Iraq, Syria. So it's really a very complicated area. You have Bulgaria. You have Georgia, you have Armenia. It's really you are a neighbor with the forces, if I can see that. It's unbelievable what kind of geopolitical situation, situation you have as a country. How do you see this as an opportunity or it's a liability?
As you rightly put forward, it's both a great challenge and also an opportunity at the same time. When I was talking with my friends from some Western countries, especially when I was working at the UN office in Geneva, I was witnessing that how particular matters they were interested in it, because the agenda was, let's say, comprising of 4 or 5 matters only. In our case, if I were a foreign diplomat in Ankara, probably I would die to understand what's going on, not inside the country, I mean outside the country. Yes. Because if you serve in Ankara, you can follow events in the Middle East, in Afghanistan, in the Black Sea, in Russia, in Caucasus, in the West, etc. You can enlarge the list. This region has unfortunately been always complicated. What is lucky is that Turkey has always endured to challenges around its geography and has always moved forward. There were of course interruptions, especially during military coups in my country. As you know, we had 2 hard and 1 soft military coups. But despite all these setbacks, the country moved slowly forward, and in the last decade, as you see, there's a strong takeoff. To manage the challenges, we have adopted the famous foreign policy strategy of 0 problems with neighbors, as you remember, about a decade ago. And we were so lucky up until the Arab Spring.
Peace and friendship. Yeah.
Whatever you have in the history, let's put them somewhere. And if there are issues that we cannot agree on, again, let's do not make them as impediments for future collaborations, just as we did with the Greeks, for example. Yeah. So we moved forward with many of our neighbors in a positive direction. Of course, the international setting and regional setting changes without our control, not in our control, of course. So the events of Arab Spring has deteriorated our relationship with certain neighbors again, notably with Syria.
Yes, especially.
With Iraq, there was also a term that we have a bitter relationship with the former administration there, but now, thanks God, it's going in a very positive direction with the new administration.
Yes.
We are trying a very fine diplomacy and walking on a very tight rope to give right balance to each and every of our relationship.
What about Iran?
With Iran, we actually have a very long, stable relationship. Our border is actually drawn in the 17th century, early 17th century. And we had no major war from that time on. The 2 nations actually represent 2 civilizations as well. The Persian civilization is a very old historical one.
Yes,
and they represent the center of Shia Islam in the world.
Yes.
Their culture is so rich.
Absolutely.
And we also have, as you know, coming from Selçukis, from Ottomans, and early on, a very strong culture as well. So there has always been interaction between the 2 countries. And recently, again, in the last decade, we are looking forward and moving forward in our relationship with Iran.
I'm asking you this question about Iran because, as you know, Iran is a sensitive issue for the international community. And we will take a short break of commercials. But after that, I would like you to tell us, how do you manage? I mean, it's unbelievable what you have to manage as a country. We consider ourselves to be to have complicated neighbors and complicated neighborhood and so on, but for Turkey it's even more complicated, and that's why it's important to know how you manage all these relationships. Iran, it was on the blacklist of the international community. Now, of course, because of the new agreement, it's a new era for, it's a possibility of a new era for Iran as well.
Exactly.
But I would like you to tell us after that, how do you manage and how do you see the relation with Russia, the relation with, which of course is not your neighbor, you have your own Moldova, which is Georgia.
Still, yes.
You have a buffer zone there, which is very small.
Yeah. But from the Black Sea, it's
but from the Black Sea, it's your neighbor already.
Yeah,
yes. How do you manage your relationship with Russia? How you because it's very complicated. You have many trade with Russia, many interests, but at the same time you are the second largest army and in the NATO, and importance, important army in the NATO. And NATO it's in this moment considered a threat by Russia. So maybe after the commercials we can discuss also a little bit about this and go with the other subjects. Publicitate. We are back, and we are back with your answer about the relation you have with the big powers, Russia, your role in NATO, United States. You are in between. You are a country which is very strong, and I am very curious how you manage these relationships.
As I say, it's a complex environment, and we have complex relationships with many different powers of the world and in the region. The basic pillar of the Turkish foreign policy is its alignment with the West for too long. This has two aspects. One is the security aspect, one is the freedom aspect. The security aspect, the backbone of it is our membership with NATO, which is more than now half a century. So our alliance within NATO is quite solid and strong, and both Turkey and NATO gained a lot out of this strong relationship. On the freedom side, meaning Turkey's move towards more democracy, more freedoms, trying to create a nation of predominantly Muslim population of a democratic state, actually targets in the concrete objective of EU membership. So this is another pillar of our foreign policy. And the third pillar is, of course, our regional relationships, and there comes the issues of relations with Iran, relations with Russia, relations with the Middle East and elsewhere. With Iran, as I say, it has been a stable relationship. There were ups and downs in the past, but for the last decade we were able, luckily, to talk about a positive agenda in many areas, and we are so happy with the recent agreement between Iran and
we too.
P5+1.
Everybody's happy. Yeah. I hope even Israel, I think it's because it is in the interest of the world to stop developing the nuclear program.
Exactly. What is actually dramatic here, many years ago, if you remember, in the UN Security Council, Turkey and Brazil voted against a resolution. And that time, people again ask, where is Turkey heading? Is Turkey drifting through from west to east, towards east, and etc. The agreement that was reached recently is actually almost similar to the one that we reached even years ago.
And you voted against them?
We were we brought this wonderful agreement that we catered together with Brazil to the attention of the international community, but it didn't work. That's why we were voting against the resolution then. But anyway, we are happy, despite the delay, that they were managed to reach a solution, and we will do as a neighbor our utmost to help Iran and other friends to move forward. Relationship with Russia has always been very important for Turkey, and I know this is also of high interest in Romania and
very high interest.
In the region, of course. It's understandable.
Especially because of the recent direct threats to Romania made by Russian leaders. But I'm asking, of course, your relationship, not ours.
Sure. In general, when you look to relationship, it's a matter of interaction going for about 1,000 years. We're talking about the relationship between Turks and Russians. And the recent history, 19th century and early 20th century, is marked by many wars. Between the Russians, and most of them were won by the Russians on the other end against the Ottomans.
Let me say a good thing about you here. They couldn't make you communists. You were an island.
Luckily, yes.
You're an island in all the region. Even Albania was a communist country. So you were an island of, I'm not sure if Western values, maybe not, but still an island of non-communism. So they couldn't conquer you with communism.
True. The leadership of Turkey in late 40s and early 50s luckily had a visionary approach, and they took side with the West, and then, as you know, the NATO membership is the concrete result of it, and as you say, changed our track we are also lucky in that sense. Today, Russia is one of our largest, not only largest neighbor, but largest trading partner. And as it has with many other European countries, we have very intense energy cooperation. Turkey is a energy-hungry market. And in Europe, when you realize that there's a decreasing trend in terms of energy consumption, it's increasing in Turkey. And about 90% of our energy is based dependent on imports. And when you look to our imports, about 60% of our natural gas needs are coming from Russia.
60%?
60%. And almost all cities in Turkey are now heated by using natural gas. So natural gas is a vital thing for our country. And for years, Russia and Turkey were very honest brokers of trade in the energy sector. We have never used energy towards each other as a kind of political tool.
Weapons, yeah.
To each other. And we are, I guess, the second biggest customer of Gazprom in natural gas in Europe, after Germany, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
After Germany, yes, because with Germany I can tell you the figures, because they were, okay, I will not comment about Germany
okay,
now.
no third countries, okay.
Yeah.
And then
they played quite tricky with Ukraine, but it's a different story here.
Okay. This is the trade part of it. Russia is either number one or number two trading partner of our. It changes in the year because of this energy imports. In terms of human relationship, there are about 20 million of Muslims living in Russia, and an important portion of it is of Turkic origin. So there are inevitable ties.
Wow. So it's 20% of the population of Russia.
20 million.
Yes, 20% because
Almost.
they are about 140 million inhabitants.
This historical relationship and political competition throughout the Cold War, where we have very difficult times, because we were the only country together with Greece that were bordering literally the Eastern Bloc countries.
Yes.
It was a very difficult relationship, and there were very testing times that we felt the danger of a communist expansion and etc. towards our countries. After the end of communism, we opened a new page, just as the US and Russians did. Start with a clear page, and it moved in a positive direction, actually. Of course, there are issues that we had clear distinctions and differences. One is clearly Syria. We are on complete opposing sides on Syria, and Syria is number one national security issue or foreign policy issue for my country.
Yes.
The second is, of course, Ukraine and Crimea.
Yes.
We are definitely on the opposing sides of it, and we, from the very beginning, our position is quite clear in terms of
condemning
and not recognizing the illegal annexation of Crimea. We are particularly sensitive on the Tatar minority in Crimea, and we are sorry to witness that the promises given earlier are not heeded. They're closing the Mejlis of Tatars, closing their TVs, ATR, and some other implications as well. They are putting some travel bans to leaders of the Crimean Tatars. So we are following all these events very closely, and we are making it quite clear to our Russian friends in each occasion and discussion. Of course, we are talking about energy, about cooperation in other areas in the Middle East, in Cyprus and elsewhere. But of course, we definitely make our point clear and underline that we do not recognize such interventions, and we are fully supportive of Ukraine's territorial integrity. As you see, there is a complex relationship.
Yes.
But there are nuances.
Are nuances, but let me underline what is important for Romanians. What you mentioned now is very important, because Romania is a neighbor of Ukraine, and Romania was very worried, and it is very worried about the war in Ukraine, and condemn heavily what Russia did.
Yeah.
So this aspect, besides all the other aspects of cooperation and so on, is important that your country was condemning the intervention, and you are still condemning or having tough relationship with Russia when it's about the subject of annexing Crimea or the war which is now taking place in Ukraine. This is important.
Exactly, and not only, there are actually two pillars here. One pillar when it comes to security of our allies. Our position is quite clear. In the recent Wales summit, the Romanian and Turkish delegations worked very closely on certain articles that was adopted by our leaders, especially regarding our region. So whenever there are measures taken by our allies, we are there. We have a very clear record of it, which goes back more than 50 years now.
But you did oppose at NATO to some of Romanian proposals. I will not go into details now.
I don't remember such a thing from the Brussels. There are nuances. This is the second part, what I will say. From the very beginning, when the Iron Curtain was tear down, we say in the Black Sea, let's have a regional ownership. And we try to bolster and encourage regional ownership like about 2 decades now. And there were times actually it worked in the positive direction. In the Black Sea economic cooperation in the sense of economic and commercial cooperation, which helped to every country. And also in the security sector, where we jointly formed, together with Russians, with Bulgarians, with Romanians, all littoral states, Black Sea 4, and our military ships together made maneuvers in the sea, because it's an interesting small sea which has a few littoral states. But given the recent events that has happened more than 1 year ago, of course everything stopped. You cannot move to bolster this regional ownership, especially in the security sector. So what now we are trying to do is we are trying to go back to normal position that Ukraine is still territorially integrated. It's not violated. And we again talk about principles on that. So engagement is a tool to actually convince our Russian friends, and we think that it's a must to come to terms with the internationally agreed principles. But on the other hand, of course, our commitment within NATO and our bilateral commitments are quite solid.
Let me ask a question which may be difficult, but you are a very good ambassador. I'm sure you'll find a good answer to that. The Turkish Stream, the new project with Russia, is this putting you in a I mean, not in a conflict, but how do you manage the making a project on gas with Russia now, this Turkish Stream, this interest with combating Russia when it's about violating territories or having these attitudes towards countries like Romania or Poland or other countries, Moldova, Serbia, Hungary, and so on, of not conquering them maybe military, but by being very aggressive. And you, as we mentioned, you are by far, I mean, you are the second largest army in the NATO, but you are the largest army in the region. That's why Romania, I think it counts, and I hope it counts very much on your support. At the Black Sea, you have the biggest power. You are the biggest power of the Black Sea. Russia, it's still much beyond you. So how are these things going together, making the project with Russia on gas, on the one hand?
There are some realities on the ground in terms of
what the Americans are saying about it.
Yeah. First of all, the preceding South Stream, which were ongoing before this Turkish Stream project idea came up. Turkey was never part of it, as you know.
Yes.
We were part of the Nabucco project, which unfortunately died. In the South Stream,
also because of some leaders in Europe. Yeah.
Yes, and also mostly because of lack of source countries.
Sure.
In the South Stream, when you look to the countries that are part of the South Stream, supporting them, some of them are NATO members, some of them are EU members, and we were having no share in it, in the South Stream. Then last year, it was a surprise to everyone, including to Turks and to the world as well. Russia came up with an idea of scrapping South Stream and building a new one directly to Turkey, which is called Turkish Stream.
Yes.
we are already getting Russian gas through two means. One, directly from the Blue Stream. We already have a pipeline. And it helped tremendously to Turkey when we have some difficulties of getting natural gas from Iran, especially during winter times. And thanks to this Blue Stream, the Russian gas coming, we survived. I mean, imagine that 3 days of shortages of heat in Turkish towns will be the end of any mayor or even government.
Yes, okay.
And the rest of the gas that we are getting from Russia is coming from the Ukrainian route from Bulgaria to Turkey, so from the western route.
Yes.
Now what Turkish Stream offers to us is that they are giving this remaining part directly to Turkey. In that sense, we are getting directly natural gas from Russia, nothing more. What will happen after Turkey? You know, it's planned to go to Greece. It is not something that we are talking and we are promoting. It's now under study and feasibility. We are not saying, well, this Turkish Stream should be built and it should bypass Ukraine.
You know why I'm asking, because it's a concern of some countries in the European Union that Greece is betraying European Union and making a deal with Russia, and through you they will have let's say the source of gas coming through Turkey, and it's not your plan. I understand.
The whole pipeline is not our pipeline. I mean, it's the one that comes to Turkey. From the Turkish authority, our responsibility starts within our country. And we'll take the first phase, actually, that is planned. There are 4 phases. The first phase is only for our domestic consumption. Okay. We are responsible for that. But the rest is not in our total responsibility. And it's under still feasibility. If you look to our actions, though, our actions suggest a different perspective of how we are trying hard for Europe's energy security through differentiating the routes. It is the TANAP pipeline is a concrete testament to this. TANAP is coming from Azerbaijan, Georgia, Turkey, and it goes will be linked to TAP, Adriatic pipeline. And the groundbreaking ceremony of this was just made last month with the participation of Romanian Energy Minister as well, His Excellency Gherea. Yes. So this is the one that will diversify the route. Of course, the volume that is planned to be carried through TANAP is not that much, but it's still a significant portion of amount. And we are also trying to find an opportune moment to get natural gas from Iraq. Again, to contribute to Europe's energy security. And finally, I'm not sure when, but if one day we could solve these problems in Cyprus, you know, there are some concrete projects over there as well.
These are for the future now. I mean, these are just on paper for the moment. The plans of helping Europe to get more freedom, let's say energy freedom from Russia, or an alternative, because it's not about freedom. Now it's about freedom because they use blackmail, in my view. It's my words, not yours. Towards some countries, they are blackmailing with gas.
Normally, energy should be like a commodity.
Yes.
You pay the money, and if you like the amount, you take it and give the money. And energy should be like this for everywhere.
I agree with you.
But unfortunately, natural gas, unlike oil, for example, oil has a market, and unlike OPEC.
And you have more
kind of,
sources. More sources.
Yes, you can have
choose
prices and etc. But on natural gas, it unfortunately became like this. Especially this pipeline politics became a strategic tool.
True.
And I think the real solution for this is route diversification and source diversification.
Absolutely,
and we are trying hard on this.
My only concern here was to clarify from your side. You are a NATO member. Of course, you are now one of the most important pillars of Romania and other countries in ensuring the security of the NATO members in the region. And your words, your words were very clear, that you are here to defend let's say your allies, and I don't think it's any concern regarding you playing military with Russia. And
our
so
record is clear.
But the problem is, and the question is, and I want to clarify this, because not for me, because I understand and I know all this let's say information, but in media sometimes superficial information comes and goes, and one of them was that your project with Russia now, the Turkish Stream, is affecting your relationship with the United States. or is affecting your relationship with NATO. Is that a fact?
No, there is no such thing. I mean, we are having constant consultations with our allies and partners, including on Turkish stream. Just recently, there is a meeting of 6 or 7 European countries on this particular matter. Since everything is on the air, there is no concrete things still on the table.
Did any time? I'm just asking. Did ever Russia tried to use as a tool the economic affairs with you on the military side? Did they try to condition condition you in any way?
No. Really, we have a proper relationship in that sense,
Okay.
based on our former partnership in the trade, especially. We are just working on concrete, on price, on volumes. We are talking on these luckily things. We are not talking on strategic and political aspects of it. Maybe the question that you could ask, because everyone is blaming Turkey in that regard vis-à-vis Russia, is about the European Union's measures against Russia.
Yes, the measures, the economic
sanctions,
the sanctions against Russia.
So why doesn't Turkey go along with these sanctions? And we were blamed last year heavily on this. There were 3 reasons for this. One, we were not asked when these sanctions were prepared. They didn't even show the courtesy of inviting or taking opinion of Turkey, which elements we have to use in that. So we are asked to obey something that we were not taking part in its decision-making process. Secondly, when you look to the trade with Russia, it's about talking with the terms of 2013, not 14, and I will say about 14 as well. In 2013, there's a trade of about 37 billion US dollars, and only 7 billion of it is Turkish exports to Russia. The rest is our imports from Russia. And a bulk of it, about 70% of this, is energy. So a bulk of it it's a very unbalanced relationship. And when you look to Turkish exports, it's automobile parts, fruits, and some other products as well. It's nothing that Russia could use, for offensive purposes. And after all these criticisms in 2014, our trade, without any interruption from outside, decreased 14%. So in on paper, people may criticize the country of abusing some rights, but in reality, this is not the case actually.
Well, Mr. Ambassador, first of all, let me say that I agree with you. European Union made many mistakes in approaching the crisis in Ukraine. Even though we are part of EU, I believe in the European project very much. But we criticize the EU ambassador sitting here on this chair, so I will not do it while they are not here. And we criticize them for their approach. They negotiated a peace in Minsk without asking anyone, just 2 powers of Europe. They put in the sanctions without asking you. So you cannot ask someone to obey some rules if you don't ask them before putting them. So, and it's more discussion about that also with your process of accession to the EU, which in my view, we will discuss after the break, the commercial break, that this is absolutely outrageous. I believe that Europe is blind and it doesn't see what is happening around it. And leaving Turkey outside Europe and not making it member, it's one of the biggest mistakes of the European Union, in my view. We have one question which is very important, because we have the opportunity and the honor to discuss with you, the Turkish ambassador, about the visit of the recent visit of your president to Romania. I would like to discuss with you a little bit what were the purposes, objectives, and results, of course, of this visit. Publicitate. We are back now. Please tell us what are the main objectives and results of the visit of your President Erdogan in Romania.
First of all, I should admit that it's much belated visit, because the last visit at the presidential level from Turkey to Romania was 7 years ago. So when I was first posted, I was reading all the reports, and when I saw that, I was a bit surprised and shocked actually.
Yes.
And I say, how come? Such a strategic ally of ours,
yes,
and there's no presidential visit for so many years. So I knocked many doors actually before coming here. to try to convince our leaders to have a visit on every level actually. And I feel myself quite lucky to have in my 6 months here to have our president in this important neighbor and ally of us. On the logistical side, it was a very successful visit. Logistics matters a lot actually in relationship between countries. It was actually on paper a second presidential visit to Romania after President Iohannis took the office. But the First Lady appeared for the first time as a part of the state visit, and she played a great host to our First Lady in this visit as well. It was the first encounter between our two leaders. As you know, President Erdogan is also relatively new in his new position,
Yes.
and President Iohannis is also new. And people-to-people relationships have always been so important in our 25 years of modern relationship. So I personally witnessed the rapport and the nice fine-tuning, the good rapport, I mean, between
The chemistry.
the chemistry, exactly, between the two leaders. Was quite happy on this. Protocol-wise, you know, the Romanian colleagues in every institution, like from police to protocol to presidency to prime ministry, they were so kind to us. The meeting with Prime Minister Ponta, for example, was arranged for like 10-15 minutes. It lasted more than an hour.
Really?
All concrete issues were laid down, etc. So this is the perception that was given outside, which is so important. On substantive part, which is not that much known by the public.
Yes, that's why we have the
course,
honor to have you.
It's also a very strong visit. First of all, everything in our bilateral agenda has come to table in a very open and constructive manner. We once again underlined the very fact that there is no outstanding, even one problem in our political relationship. Everything is on the positive side. Economic and trade relationship, again, underlined as being one of the most important aspects of our overall bilateral relations. And our leaders put the target of 10 billion euros of bilateral trade in the near future. And the
Just a second, what do you mean by the 10 billion put it together?
Now actually our trade is about 6.3 billion. They set the target.
They set the target.
Yes, to increasing this bilateral trade like this. Of course, it's a huge burden on our shoulders and on our businessmen's shoulders as well, community shoulder. But it's good to have such a target. It's actually encouraging our business people on both sides. On investment sides, they discuss about new additional investments in this country.
Could you tell us some examples of results? Like
these are actually private companies. Of course, we are not talking about state companies.
Of course,
but in this particular visit, for example, President Erdogan mentioned about a Turkish private company who is planning to a new investment of amounting to 200 million euros, and which will eventually go about 600 million euros. They will start with wood industry and then go to steel plant industry as well.
This is about economic.
Yes.
And it's very good because
yes, on the economic
create
side.
jobs for the people. Will create, will increase the economy. So
exactly,
it's very good.
exactly. Romania has a great pragmatic approach on getting investments on that side. Anything that Turkey is gaining in the last decade is also something positive for Romania, and Romanian leadership and Romanian people sees this. When you make the third airport in Istanbul, for example, which will be the largest one in Europe, it will also be a kind of attraction point for Romania as well, because it's like 50 minutes of flight. Again, the speed train, for example, coming from Anatolia to Istanbul and then to the Bulgarian border, or the tube that binds the two continents, Asia and Europe, in Istanbul. All these things are actually regional opportunities, which is seen by the Romanian leadership.
Were on the agenda?
They were on the agenda as well. How can we move forward but use these new projects as well for larger projects in the region? And they also discussed opportunities for undertaking and having bilateral business projects in third countries, especially in Central Asia, for example, in countries like Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, Azerbaijan, where we have very close relationship for years now.
Energy projects or what kind of
any kind of projects. So they have to, of course, it's again private sector thing, but from construction to energy to enlarging, encompassing many fields on this. When it came to regional and international issues, there is again a quite open discussion. Of course, Black Sea situation.
I wanted to go to this besides economic. What was decided? If you can tell us a little bit, of course, what was decided on the security issues at the Black Sea?
We actually just confirmed that the opinions of the two countries are identical.
Okay.
For the security of the Black Sea, for the territorial integrity of Ukraine, for the situation of Tatars in Crimea, everything was actually once again underlined that two countries are looking from the same perspective. Within NATO, the decision taken in the Wales summit are important for all of us. This is also, underlined
moving,
again.
You mean moving some of the commandments of NATO to Romania?
Yeah, additional
Poland,
measures of protecting the eastern and southern border. Of course, we mentioned a lot about the events on our southern border and Syria, and tell our difficulties and challenges of the Syrian situation, both to domestic security of Turkey as well. But on the agenda, it was mostly Black Sea, Crimea, and situation in Ukraine was heavily loaded. And also we discuss about additional cooperation within NATO between our militaries as well. I don't want to go into details on this, but possible Turkish contribution to new command centers here, and also our excellent cooperation through trilateral means as countries hosting elements of the ballistic missile defense system, as you know. So all these subjects.
Poland, Romania, and
Turkey.
And Turkey. Because what the viewers don't know, they have the impression that only from the declarations coming from Moscow, that only Romania and Poland are part of the anti-shield, the anti-missile shield. Is not true. You are also part of this, and you're before Romania. I mean, Romania became...
The element in Turkey is already operational.
Yes, the elements in Turkey are operational.
We have the radar of it.
And can you confirm that it's just defensive? Because we hear from Russia itself always that, oh, it's offensive, it's offensive.
Of course, we cannot think other way. I mean, it's a
defensive tool, it's not offensive, it's not against Russia, it's not against...
And there are clear-cut rules that are accepted within NATO. When Turkey took this decision, it took a lot, actually. It took years to convince the Turkish public, our leadership as well. Therefore, everything was very clear-cut. What is it for? Under what condition it will work? Its defensive capabilities. We worked very clearly and very neatly on this matter. It's a purely NATO defensive measure.
Of course. Well, this is important also for you, for the viewers to hear, because they listen different voices. It's not a problem. I mean, we're not Russophobe. We are just trying to clarify some aspects, and we are very open to have everybody here, including the Russian ambassador. I'm waiting for him to come, which is, by the way, as you know him, quite a nice person.
Yes. I met him. I visited
very
him.
Intellectual, an intellectual, very bright. Of course, the policy in Moscow is as it is, but we are waiting for them and him and to have a normal dialogue and to explain things, because my impression is that we are in a war of propaganda, which is not productive for anyone. But thank you for answering to this particular question. Let me go back a little bit to what you said earlier. I'm not asking you to develop, because it's not the case. But it is important to underline what you mentioned, besides the economic cooperation, that the two governments, or the two countries through their representatives, your president, our leaders, decided to have a closer cooperation on the military side as well. And that is crucial for us, because you are the biggest power at the Black Sea. I repeat this for people which may think that Russia is controlling the Black Sea. It's not controlling anything. You are, your army, it's really strong. Your fleet, it's impressive. submarines, old kind of ships, army ships you have at the Black Sea. And for Romania, it's really crucial, the partnership with you. This is what our viewers must understand, because they see in Turkey only the beaches, nice holidays, your great hospitality as a people. But besides that, we have many other things in common, and this is security is crucial for Romania, for you, for everybody. So that's why what you just mentioned, it's important that the leaders, your president, our prime minister, or deciding to cooperate more on the military side as well, and that is very important. Now let me go to another subject, if you will allow me, which is very important for you and also for us, I think, also for the whole Europe. And here I disagree with most of the EU countries, even though we have a good relationship with all the EU ambassadors, and our organization has projects implemented with them. I don't think it's any EU country with which we don't cooperate. But putting Turkey aside from 2005, it's really something I think it's a mistake. Turkey made huge progress in the last years. Okay, maybe are things to be continued in your country. Maybe it's not a perfect country, but no country is perfect. If we look to France and Italy, they are the biggest friends of Mr. Putin now, even though they built up as members of EU, and they forgot about Ukraine. I mean, the Ukraine is not on the agenda so much. Now Turkey is concerned about Ukraine. But besides this, which I should discuss with them, not with you, I believe
I'm not making comments on this.
No, please don't. It was my comment. But now I'm coming to where something you can comment, because I think European Union, and we are, Romania, it's backing up very much this. Personally, as a person, now it's my opinion, I fully support this, that you should be in the European Union, because you are part of Europe, even though sometimes they put you in Asia.
We are already in Europe. I mean, historically,
well, you are historically in Europe,
population-wise, you know.
Exactly.
Social, yeah.
But in my view, I believe you should be in Europe, in the EU, as soon as possible, because EU showed its weaknesses in defending Ukraine, in defending Moldova, in defending anything. So in terms of security,
and also in increasing its economy as well. It's collapsed,
yes, of course, I was going to that. We had a crisis which hit it very strong Europe. It didn't hit it you. So you have all the advantages to be in the European Union, for the European Union, but the European Union has a lot of disadvantages of not having you. That's why, in my view, the EU should do whatever they can to end this process of 2005. We have 10 years of negotiations, and they are still saying no. Saying no for what? Because if we look to countries which are in the EU now, are worse in terms of human rights, because this is what they are saying when they speak about your problems. Yes. Human rights, democratic values, and so on. Well, I don't want to give examples, but we have enough countries in the EU which are not an example of that. And you show that you have will, you show that you have made progress, you have no enemies besides some problems with Syria in the south.
Yes.
So you made a lot of progress. That's why I didn't make this laudatio for Turkey because I don't know what, but it is the reality. So that's why I wanted to comment on this. What do you think will be the road of you to the EU?
Thank you so much for this visionary approach. The basic term here is lack of vision on most part of Europe. Luckily, we have friends in capitals like Bucharest, like London, like Warsaw, like Madrid, like Lisbon, like Sweden. But lack of vision is present in some of larger capitals as well. Politics, geography, and economics actually requires and urges for a Turkish membership. We have never come forward and say economically and politically, because there are two major criteria, you know, Maastricht and Copenhagen.
Absolutely.
We met everything, so take us in. But when you look on paper, on Maastricht criteria, we are even better than many of the EU countries.
I can give examples, but I won't.
On Copenhagen, as you mentioned, even in Copenhagen, it says it sufficiently meets the criteria, because there is always room for improvement. We didn't come forward and say we have the best democracy in the world. No, but we are trying hard to improve and to better our democratic practices. But back in 2003, it's already stated, like more than 10 years ago, that Turkey sufficiently met the Copenhagen criteria. This lack of vision is arising from historical prejudices, some prejudice against unfortunately being rising Islamophobia over there.
But if we look to Europe,
it is actually the panacea
of my friend, but
the problems.
I will be very blunt. If we look to Europe, we have more Muslim in Germany, in other countries coming from their own colonial past. So why they would oppose your citizens while they are hosting millions of Muslims in all Europe? You know, sometimes they really make me angry because I don't understand what the leaders of Europe are going to.
This is a matter of prejudice.
Yes.
We started negotiations 10 years ago. There are about 35 chapters. Only 14 of them is open, and only one of them is the easiest one. It's provisionally closed. The rest we cannot open because of political purposes. It's blocked by certain countries, notably by Cyprus.
And tell to the people what are the reasons they invoke, because I know.
This is striking. For example, we mentioned about energy security, Europe, etc., pipelines, and etc. Chapter 15 is on energy, and we say we are ready to open, to talk with Europe, with the EU, to align our acquis and legislation in line with the EU acquis, for example. I mean, now the European Commission, Brussels, can say to Greece or Bulgaria, well, this is wrong, you cannot make this pipeline because it's against the rule of the EU, but it cannot tell it to me because they're not opening the chapter already. So it's funny. How can this prejudice and lack of vision could create certain irregularities? Or leave it aside, one of the criticisms that we were receiving on judiciary and freedom, there are two chapters, 23 and 24, all related with rule of law and individual freedoms and etc. They're not opening it as well. Why are you not opening these chapters as well? Because it will align we'll our legislation more in the EU acquis. But what we did, thanks God, with the visionary approach, no matter what will happen on paper and on the official front, we are opening the chapters ourselves in Turkey because there's a screening process and etc. So we change each of our legislation in line with the EU acquis. And now if there's a change, political change, and visionary change in Europe, and they say, okay, we are ready to open the chapters, we are ready to open any chapter in 2 months and move forward. But on the other hand, we are moving on our path of having more strong credentials in the democratic system and also stronger economy.
Yes, of course. I would like to have you many times a guest in our talk show, but we are close to the end. So let me ask you a question which is important for not harming, let's say, the feelings of some other countries. And our talk show, it's just a coincidence. It's taking place in the neighborhood of the day of the Armenian people are celebrating their genocide, as they called what happened in the Ottoman Empire, when many Armenians were unfortunately either killed or moved or harmed. And I know it's a sensitive issue for you as well, but let me, and with your permission, I will approach this subject as well as the last subject. I want to use these last minutes to have your view on this. What can you tell us? I mean, the Armenians are condemning you for what happened within the Ottoman Empire. I will not say my opinion because you know my opinion, but I want you to tell something to them and to the Armenian people.
Thank you so much for asking this, because this is the centenary of 1915 events. It's a very touchy issue and emotions are so high on both sides, especially on the Armenian side. If you follow what happens in Turkey in the last years, there's a very courageous step towards reconciliation. Just recently, our Prime Minister made a very strong statement 2 days ago. He made it. Now we accept this, what happened to Ottoman Armenians, as a clear tragedy. It's never a denialistic approach. We honor the memories of innocent Armenians during the Ottoman times who lost their lives in the final years. And we clearly offer our condolences to their families and to their descendants. We are also ready to witness our history. We are not shying away from any responsibility of our history. We are a big country. Like any people can make, this thing or that thing. We are ready to discuss. We are ready to face. Even the Prime Minister say it's easy to find the culprits who is responsible for the demise of this tragedy. So we are ready. We are making our calls once again. Armenians and Turks lived about 1,000 years together. And 1915 is only the last part of it. We haven't seen for the first time each other like we have seen the Australians and the New Zealanders in Gallipoli, for example. Even with these people, we have friendship now. Why can we not do it with the Armenians? We have to have a reconciliatory approach. And for the first time in modern Turkish history, this year, there will be an official commemoration in the Armenian church that will commemorate the Armenians lost their lives during the recent years of the empire.
In Turkey.
In Turkey. So I was wondering what else can a Turkish leader could offer or could say publicly to the world. We are ready to open.
You mentioned also we are really at the end, but you mentioned also that you are open to a committee or a commission which is not including only you and the Armenians.
I was just saying this.
Yeah,
for more than 5 years now, we made our call to the world. Let's form a joint historians commission, which will be open to third country historians as well, for Americans, French, whatever, Romanians, and let them decide. And we declare that we are ready to accept whatever, because it's made numerous times by our president and prime minister, whatever the result comes out of this. Okay. But rather than doing this reconciliatory approach, pushing only the G word is not the right approach.
Okay. Well, I really felt the time was running with you in this talk show. And it's a pity because we have so many other things to speak, and the map is speaking for itself. Why Turkey is so important for Romania, we will present it also in the on our slides in the talk show. And of course, you will have. I hope you will accept our invitation for next talk show other times, because we have many things in common. We have many things that are linking us together. I will not blame you that you conquered Oltenia from the part I'm coming from. But I forgot about it. I'm not blaming you for that. But I look now forward, we look forward, the Romanians, to the cooperation and to the security, to the economic, to everything that it can bring the countries together, not what can split the countries. Because what Ceausescu did, we cannot... did many bad things, right? What can we accept the legacy, but we cannot really do more.
Just one sentence, so relevant here. The biggest success of our relationship is driving friendship from a difficult history.
Yes, well, it was not easy.
It's unique.
As I said, I hope you look to the movies in Heavy Tazo, it are very interesting. But but because I'm saying this because I feel you as a friend, so I know you take it as a joke. But thank you again for coming and sharing all these things which are new about the visit of your president, about the cooperation, about security, about the Turkish stream, about the relation with Russia, about the relation with the United States, NATO. These are issues that are not known by the Romanian public. And these must be known, because else the stereotypes remains. And you know that people think into stereotypes sometimes about countries. So again, thank you very much, my friend Koray. I will invite you anytime. Congratulations for being such a successful leader for such a young age. Again, being the chief of staff of your president at 36 years old, and ambassador to Romania at 40. It's not little. And let me say goodbye to our viewers, and looking forward to our next guest, which will be another ambassador with another vision. O seară bună și să ne vedem cu viitor la Ambasador.